Okay, so today is a very unique day for me because someone that I despise very much throughout the years actually did a good interview. We're talking about Tucker Carlson. He did an interview with Mike Huckabee. If you know about Mike Huckabee, he is the ambassador for the United States to Israel. Now, Michael Huckabee ran for president. I believe he was a governor and whatnot. He's a politician, but he's what you call a Christian Zionist. I didn't know that he was so deep into this until recently. Well, I've had an idea because I heard him say some stuff. But Tucker Carlson has this interview with Mike Huckabee, who is the ambassador to Palestine, to Israel. And we all know what's going on with Israel and Gaza. Now, once again, I'm not a huge fan of the Middle East, but I thought it's something to talk about so you can see how white supremacy takes many different shapes and forms. It's an ideology, and it can be used and twisted. First, we're going to just go over Israel real quick. Israel was officially established in 1948. They were welcomed in by the local Palestinians. There's a debate behind that. And they had bought land, but they expanded quickly, and they were backed by a lot of Western powers after World War II. We know the whole Holocaust history. Now, what has happened in Israel, depending on who you talk to, is Israel's it should be the youngest country in the world, but it's a very awkward, peculiar situation. So what you have in Israel is the foundation is the Jewish belief. Now, to be Jewish, and this is what this whole debate is about, what Tucker Carlson has, I'm gonna show a clip, where he's trying to understand who is considered the Jewish people and how do you become part of that group. Is this through bloodline? Is this religion? Is this ethnicity? What is it? Like, how can you, if I wake up tomorrow, and this is what it comes down to, if I wake up tomorrow, I grew up Christian, so I would consider myself a Christian, and I said, you know what, I want to be Jewish. And I go through the proper necessary steps to become Jewish within their traditions, I can go to Israel and claim that land in parts of Gaza and the West Bank belongs to me through biblical scriptures. So they use the Torah, they use the Bible to then say, well, the Torah is very similar to the Old Testament in the Bible, but they're using, and this is the problem with religion. This is why I say with people, I don't do religious debates anymore. I'm done. Because you realize religion has the ability for people, it allows people the ability to turn off logic. If you're gonna sit here and tell me that since the Bible says Israel can have from the Euphrates to the Nile River, right? I'm not sure exactly where it says that, but it does say that. That means the whole Middle East is pretty much belongs to the Jewish people, the Israelis. And then once you start breaking down that population that is there, one, they do not allow DNA tests. So we can't even see if you really are Jewish, but then that's when they throw in the mud. Well, if you believe in the faith, that's all that matters. So watch this clip real quick. It's gonna be the clip of where he's asking him exactly what I'm saying. Who is the Jewish people? And then watch how Mike Huckabee responds to when he says, so can the Israelis take over all of the Middle East? And he said, yeah, they can if they want to. It's creepy. Check it out.
Be dozens and dozens and dozens of accused sex offenders from the United States who fled to Israel, including one recently, an Israeli government official who was caught trying to molest a 15-year-old girl and fled to Israel and is not going back to the United States to stand charges for attempted molestation of a child. Have you advocated for the Israeli government to return him to the United States?
I'm not familiar with that case.
It's in the Epstein files, and I don't know that I've heard the current president of Israel respond to it, but he is listed as a visitor to Pedo Island, so that's That's kind of a big deal. I wonder, considering there are so many suggestions in the files, as I'm sure you know, of sexual abuse, and given that Jeffrey Epstein was a convicted sex offender, I wonder why the administration you work for would be holding millions of files, which I believe belong to the public, hidden for, quote, national security reasons. What would those national security reasons be, do you think?
Honestly, I think you've probably got more access to the White House sometimes than I do. You should ask them.
Well, but you're the government official representing that White House. I just read Genesis 15, as I have many times. Mm-hmm. And that land, I think it says, from the Nile to the Euphrates, which is, once again, basically the entire Middle East. So God gave that land to his people, the Jews, or he didn't. You're saying he did. What does that mean? Does Israel have the right to that land? Because you're appealing to Genesis.
Yeah.
You're saying that's the original deed.
It would be fine if they took it all. But I don't think that's what we're talking about here today.
What would be fine? Well, it's exactly what we're talking about today.
But here's what I don't think
you think it would be fine if the state of Israel took over all of Jordan?
They don't want to take it over. They're not asking to take it over.
But you're saying it's wonderful as someone who loves language. Netanyahu's parents did not speak Hebrew. Okay? They didn't live in this region. Netanyahu, the founders of this country, were mostly secular. Some of them were avowed atheists. They were not praying for the peace of Jerusalem. They weren't praying at all because they didn't believe in God. There's no genealogy linking their families to the people of this land 3,000 years ago. They're none. So how do we know, since they didn't share a language, they didn't share a religion, they had no religion whatsoever, how do we know that they had a right to come here from Eastern Europe and
but they were scattered.
Take the land?
They were scattered to Eastern Europe. They were scattered all over the world. There were many in Ethiopia. They were in Russia. They were in Poland. They were throughout Asia. Jews were all over the place, but they were still Jews. But they were still Jews.
Okay, so then let me get to the nub of the question, since again, a lot is at stake. Here's the difference. You're saying that people who have this identification have a deed to a huge chunk of land on the Mediterranean. Okay, so there's, it's a right. You keep telling me it's a right. And so it's totally fair to say, if you come to my house and say, I've got the title to your house, I get to ask, may I see it? Where'd you get it? And that's exactly what happened here. People from Europe, Eastern Europe, came here, in a lot of cases atheists, and kicked out a lot of people. Abram's descendants are the ones who have the right to have this land, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Why don't we do genetic testing on everybody in the land and find out who Abram's descendants are? It's really simple. We've cracked the human genome. We can do that. Why don't we do that? Would you be against doing that?
I have no idea what that would prove. I mean, maybe it would be.
What do you mean? It would prove who Abram's descendants are and who has a right to live here and who doesn't, according to the theology that you yourself just explained. And so I'm very confused as to why we don't do that. If you believe the theology that you've just explained to me.
Would we do that all over the world?
Well, and everybody this is the only country in the world that you've said has this covenant with God, that this people have a moral and legal right to the land. If you believe that, wouldn't you want to know with a burning passion who those people are? And because of science, we can now know who those people are. So why aren't we finding out?
I guess you could propose a DNA test for everybody who comes here, everybody who lives here.
You heard that. He asked him, who is the people of the Middle East? Right? And he responds with, there's no clear answer. And then what makes it so crazy when I'm not sure if it shows it in that specific clip, when he talks about Bibi Netanyahu. And he asks, well, Bibi Netanyahu, if you know who he is, he's the prime minister of Israel. He's the face. He's the guy that you see all the time. And he asks him, is Bibi Netanyahu even Jewish? We don't know. Bibi Netanyahu doesn't know. He's never done a DNA test. But what we do know from Bibi Netanyahu, the guy who's doing all this mass genocide in Gaza, which, by the way, the tally up right now is about 71,800 people been killed, over 170 to 180,000 people been injured. Meaning you probably lost an arm, leg, or something. 71,000. This is the most condensed, compact area landmass area in the world of human beings in this one little spot. Over 80% of Gaza's gone. But that's definitely. But he says to him, Bibi Netanyahu, his mother and father are Polish. They're from some Nordic countries. His mother and father did not speak Hebrew, didn't consider themselves Jews, and Bibi Netanyahu has no lineage to that land. So one thing they say is they do not allow DNA tests in Israel. Reason being is because they don't want people to find out that they're not Jewish. They're probably Turkish. If you took that same ideology of whoever was there first gets it, the Turks who have it. But when we discuss these things, what is important to see is like how they're using different tactics to justify theft of land, imperialism, colonization, apartheid. Like they're using, and at the end of the day, it's all white supremacy. But people ask, why does the United States support them so much? Well, let's look at it. The United States, right? And I wrote some things down here. You gotta understand, Israel serves as a vital, battle-tested strategic asset for American power projection. Meaning, the location Israel sits in, if you look at it, it sits right in the Middle East where, what? It's a 5-hour flight just to get to China, Russia or something. If you're in a stealth bomber, you're right by Japan, Africa's right here. Then you go over to the west, Europe is right there. America, it's very strategic because they can keep a good close eye and striking distance from anywhere in the world. So this isn't so much about, oh God, Jesus. This is about complete domination of the planet. That's why the U.S. backs them so much. People always say they're not our country. They're not. Israel is America. It is just an extension of America. It is the brute, blunt object that America uses to then turn around and say, that has nothing to do with us. That's Israel. What else? They use it for intelligence, military technology. So what they do in Israel is they'll give Israel weapons that haven't been tested yet, right? Planes, well, not so much planes, but they'll give them firearms, bombs. They got what they call not the hydrogen bomb, but they have this bomb that weighs like tons. And what it does, it will drop. And what it does, it just pushes so much heat within a couple kilometers. And what it does, it will evaporate the human body. So if it drops over here, the heat will rise so much, your blood will boil. It can disintegrate. You're gonna turn into mist in real life. And they use Israel to test these things so that they'll know, okay, this bomb works well, but the killing rate isn't that well. Check mark. These people are sadistic and crazy. They've been doing this ever since 1967 is really when they turned it up. They really gave them a budget. Like, you guys are gonna get billions and billions because they hold their fealty to the United States. So pretty much the United States acts as their lawyer to the rest of the world. Israel can do no wrong in the United States' eyes. And so this interview was extremely creepy. Mike Huckabee's a creepy old guy, and he talks on two sides of his mouth. It's the devil. These people are the devil. He talks on two sides of his mouth. You know what I mean? And yeah, so pretty much with this whole situation, I would say to the Middle East, you guys got a beast in your backyard. You have an animal, a rabid wolf who has rabies and is just running through your backyard biting, and they're not gonna stop. They're not gonna stop. They have deals with the Saudis, because they have common interests. The Saudis are another imperialist country, and once again, what's very important to understand is when they say these are Israeli Jewish people, they do not allow any DNA testing. They don't really care about your family tree. It's not about genetics. It is literally just a fascist proposition, right? They just want to dominate this space. They're taking a religion and a historic name to justify the erasure of the Palestinian people. They, at one point, they even said they wanted to go to Uganda. I think they didn't do that one because Uganda's a landlocked mass country. It's in the middle of Africa. I don't know if you're gonna pull that one off. You're gonna be having to do a lot of killing, a lot of bombing, because one thing about us Africans, and you're gonna go to the heart of us. I don't think there's too many of us in it. But yeah, that interview was crazy, and I think everybody should watch that because it will explain a lot to you of the mindset of it. I'm never going to Israel. I don't care. No, not going there. Not going there. They seem to have a certain mindset that is warped. He even asked him about this child, guy who was soliciting a child for indecent behaviors. We can just say that much. And the guy gets arrested in Vegas for like a business meeting. He goes out. I don't know how these people operate, but he goes off into try to find a child, whatever. But he gets caught, gets arrested in a sting. When he gets arrested, he makes bond, leaves the country. Now, I know a lot of people who've been locked up. One thing is when you get certain charges, your passport is just pretty much dead. When if you try to hit the airport, how is he able to leave? And then when he gets to Israel, they cover for him. There's a lot of criminals who leave the United States and go to Israel. And one more clip I want to show is this guy who, in real time, like this is creepy, he's taking someone's house. It's a Jewish guy from New York, and he's like, oh, this family comes to this people, and they're like, what are you guys doing in our house? And they was like, well, we own this house now. And the lady is like, how do you own this house? This is my house. We've been living here forever. And the guy goes, well, hey, if I don't take it, someone else will. This is just what's happening. Just so, and it's in HD. And you're sitting here like, wow, this is 2026, and people are still living like this. It's sickening. It's horrible. It's racist. It's genocidal. And it's so sad to see the people who were done so wrong by the Germans in World War II turn and do this. Do the same thing that was done to them. That it's mind-boggling. You know? And when you interact with these people, right? I don't know if you ever you interact with a lot of Jewish people who are very, we just call them what they are. They're zealots. They can't hear you, and that's the reason why I say with religion, I do not argue religion with anybody. Believe what you believe. As a Pan-Africanist, we believe in the freedom of religion. Once again, if you were to ask me what, I would say I'm a Christian. I was raised a Christian. My father's a pastor. My mother, pastor. I have an uncle who's a bishop, and a lot of pastors in my family. That's just, but I don't have any ill intentions or hate towards any Muslims or Jewish people or Buddhists, or whatever. I also do a lot of traditional African spirituality. I'm into that. But yeah, you guys watch this video real quick, and then why not?
Jacob, you know this is not your house.
Yes, but if I go, you don't go back. So what's the problem? Why are you yelling at me? I didn't do this. I didn't do this.
But
It's
you
easy to yell at me, but I didn't do this.
you are stealing my house.
And if I don't steal it, someone else is going to steal it.
No one is allowed to steal it, يا عمي.
You see the guy who literally lives in New York goes to Israel and just stop. Hey, I'll take this house. What is that? And people say, "Oh my God, this is crazy." Let's be honest. White people have been doing this since they ever created the gun, and they always like to run around and brag about how we're just more superior and smarter. No, you're just mass murder, genocidal people. I don't know what happened to you guys in the well, we know what happened to you guys in the mountains, in the Caucasus Mountains, of freezing ice cold. You gotta understand, us African people never even thought or conceived of the idea of mass murdering people on that large of a scale. For what? We don't think like that. That's a deprived. We wake up in Africa, you wake up in the morning, there's fruits and vegetables and stuff just growing. Oh, we created industrialization age. We're the one who, Africa, we have everything we need. We're a very organic people, communal people. We're not into who has a big, we have diamonds, we have gold, we have everything. And then with the Israelis, they're over in the Congo helping those people out too. Start a war over there, stealing diamonds and gold, as the Arabs are too. We got to talk about the Arabs too. Once again, Arab is a ethnicity, is not a race. They're Caucasians. This is a different type of Caucasian. So anyway, guys, I want you to watch that interview. Tucker Carlson, don't like him. He's not a good guy. Tucker Carlson, the guy that's interviewing Mike Huckabee, they're both pieces of shit. Both of those. We're just two pieces of shit sitting down having a conversation. But Tucker Carlson did whoop his behind on that. Because Mike Huckabee, when he literally said, well, they can have it all. That was creepy. So when do you stop? And the dual citizen stuff with Israel and the United States is not looking so good. A lot of people are starting to notice that AIPAC, and I'm probably going to get this video pulled, AIPAC is getting a lot of heat. A lot of heat. You know? And people are calling for not allowing dual citizenship because they don't understand why all these people are going to the wall in Israel and having to kiss that wall. Let's be honest, these people run the banking systems. They got the money on lock. When you have money on lock, with these Europeans, like Donald Trump, money is all they care about. They'll do whatever. This is the last thing. I seen a video, this is when I knew Donald Trump was compromised. This is years ago. Donald Trump, whenever he walks in a room, he's always big man in the room. He's always coming out, yeah. But when he came up to Bibi Netanyahu, he was so humble and quiet. I was like, what is that? Forget the whole Russia gate. Forget all the Russia stuff with Vladimir Putin. Bibi Netanyahu, they got dirt on him. They probably told Donald Trump, they pulled him to the side and say, hey, we have all the videos and films of you interacting with very young children. Young children. Once I keep saying to y'all with this Epstein's thing, because he's a Jewish guy too from Israel, they think he's Mossad. If you know what Mossad is, it's like the CIA of Israel. When we say these are, we're not talking about 15, 14, 13. We're talking about like 7, 8-year-olds, 9, 10. We're talking about children, y'all. Crazy. These people are crazy. So anyway, you guys watch that Mike Huckabee interview with Tucker Carlson. I think it will be a great, informative conversation. It cleared up a lot of things for me, as in I thought that the Israelis had like a good argument. Not a good one. I knew it was some BS, but I thought they at least figured out the crinkles and the knacks in the conversation. But it's like, oh, I don't even think they care so much. They're just pretty much like, well, stop us. We're going off of, once again, you cannot use a religious book, doctrine, scriptures to understand political phenomena. You cannot use a biblical or a Quran, or don't use religious books to understand history, because it's skewed. It's that's the reason when I see these brothers, these Hebrew Israelite brothers, and I see them versus the Muslims, and I'm like, you guys you're never gonna agree. You guys can't even, any debate, you have to start out with basic understanding of facts. If you're gonna debate somebody, before you can even start the conversation, you need to figure out what you guys know as facts. Did this happen this day? Did this happen? If you can't agree upon certain facts, it's not gonna work. So Israel is a hostile, rogue country, doesn't listen to any of the ICJ rulings. They don't follow the UN. They don't follow anything. They're just backed by America, and it's so what you gonna do. But anyway, guys, I gotta get out of here. It's Saturday. You know I'm always doing the work. Hopefully you're doing the work, and we'll talk about some stuff later on. All right?